Who loves fantasy football? It's fantasy football season, the best time of the year. Thank you so much for coming to the Fantasy Football Weekly Training Camp Edition at Treasure Island. We are going to have so much fun over the next 2+ hours. We're recording tomorrow's Fantasy Football Weekly tonight. And then after the show, you'll want to stay tuned for some deep dive data. Those of you that have been here in years past, you know you're going to get some super cool inside the five data that I feel like gives me the best advantage that I can possibly get. I want to introduce my co-hosts. You know them by name and by voice, but maybe not by face. We begin at my immediate left, Thor Nystrom.
Hello.
You may remember Thor from such touts as Puka Nakua at this time last year. To the left of Thor, Scott Fish. You may know him from the Scott Fish Bowl.
Yeah, keep
right
that mic
here.
close to your mouth there. What's going on? Hey.
And at the end, in something like year number 12 of Fantasy Football Weekly service, Brian Johnson. Hey, hey.
What up, Charch? I'm just
right.
the Sam Darnold guy these days.
Yeah, you're the Sam Darnold. At this time last year, on this very podium, you urged people to draft Kyren Williams.
Correct.
Who was going undrafted at that time. One of your all-time great touts right there.
I went on to lose like $300 at the blackjack table. I should have just walked away after my Kyren call. But thank you for that.
You should have banked it on Kyren. Maybe that would have been the answer right there. We've got so much stuff to get to. We're going to run through training camp news from around the league. We're going to show you what we each one of us believes is the perfect first round of your draft. We'll also give you the most beloved segment that we will do all year. The reach around. That's right. We'll be providing the reach around for you later on in this show. We'll answer 3 tough questions, and we have got plenty of sleepers to unveil as well. So much to get to over the course of the show, and we are very excited to be here. I especially want to thank Treasure Island for their hospitality. This is free. You've got free food in the back until 7 o'clock. You've got food vouchers in the little pamphlet that you got. You've got $10 of free slot play, and we've also got drawings for concert tickets and the $1,000 grand prize. Holy cow. So, yeah, thank you, Treasure Island. Amazing hospitality. We love it. Thank you so much, Treasure Island. That is tremendous. All right, gentlemen. Before we get into the training camp notes, one last thing I should probably mention. Couldn't say it last week. I can say it this week. Guillotine Leagues I've sold Guillotine Leagues to Matthew Berry's Fantasy Life. As a part of that, we have a totally reskinned new app. We've got a new website, and private leagues are completely free for the first time ever. So all of that coming now. It's all available now. Public contests coming very soon. And so that's been an exciting new development that I've wanted to tell you about for a long time, and I can finally talk about it. Very exciting. It's going to bring Guillotine League to the masses. Do I have any Guillotine League players here? What do you think?
Yeah.
Nice.
Man,
Very
it's
nice.
the best. We love it, absolutely. I like Guillotine Leagues almost as much as my man in the Tank Bigsby jersey up here. That is impressive.
Yep.
All right, let's dive into some training camp notes. I want to begin with the Buffalo Bills. Scott, give us the update.
Yeah, a lot of the reports early from beat reporters are that the offense is running through Kincaid and Shakir, which I know you're going to love, Charch. You'll talk about
more
him
on that later.
With Diggs gone and, of course, Gabe Davis gone. They brought in Chase Claypool. He's on IR. They're kicking the tires on Corey Davis, who I thought retired. But
no kidding.
Apparently he's
still alive.
around.
Corey Davis is back?
They're kicking the tires on him.
Even I'm learning something new.
Matt Millan is going to miss most of the season for the IDP heads in the crowd, but he missed a lot last season too. So.
Do we have any individual defensive people here? We got a handful.
I'm speaking to 8 people on that one.
Yeah, you are.
I play.
Brian, how about the Dolphins?
All right, who wants to see Charch take his pants off?
Oh boy.
No, you really don't
I've
want
seen
that.
that too
But
much
if I
in my life.
bring
You
up
and my
John,
man later. I've got a room tonight.
who is that?
Janu.
Yeah, just bring up Jonnu Smith.
No.
But we talked
Yes.
about Jonnu Smith last week. I want to talk about rookie wide receiver Malik Washington, who's been turning heads in camp, competing with the zombie corpse of Odell Beckham for the wide receiver 3 role. I think he beats out Beckham. Beckham is old AF, and if something were to happen to Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle, Yahtzee for Malik Washington, a guy you can pretty much grab for free. And he's returning kicks. If you're playing in the Scott Fish Bowl, and you know about the sicko scoring that this guy's come up with, kick return yards from Malik Washington, too.
I kind of like it. All right. Thor, let's go to Green Bay first.
Do we have to?
Yeah, well, Jeremy in the audience would really prefer that we do go with the Packers here.
We do have one. Marshawn Lloyd dealing with a hamstring injury. I like Marshawn Lloyd a lot as a prospect, and I was hoping for more from him this year, but the fact that he's dealing with the hamstring injury, I think locks in Jacobs as the high usage RB1. And the better news for A.J. Dillon, who might have been struggling for a roster spot if Marshawn Lloyd was 100%. He can be locked into RB2. I think Marshawn Lloyd's just a dynasty guy at this point, but he's a dynasty guy I would target. Jacob's going to be there for 2 years, and then they're going to cut him, and then it's going to be Marshawn Lloyd's show.
Yeah, as you know, I went to Thor in the middle of my dynasty draft a couple of days ago, and we talked through exactly that. I ended up drafting Marshawn Lloyd, I think early second round. Yeah. Browns. Jerry Jeudy's missed nearly all of training camp with a leg injury, but he returned to drills this week. It looks like Jeudy's going to be ready for week 1. Possible starter role opposite of Amari Cooper. In fact, likely starter's role. Deshaun Watson getting mixed reviews. They're still not going to play him. Kevin Stefanski feels like Watson doesn't need more live reps. I totally disagree. I think he needs all the help he can get. I'm under the belief that Deshaun Watson is broken mentally and physically, and I'm not very optimistic.
Would you call him cooked or very well done?
We'll find out if he's cooked or very well done. Nick Chubb's still not practicing. In my personal estimation, I don't think Chubb's going to be ready for the start of the season. No. And then when he does come in, it's going to be a light workload for Chubb, right? It'll be 8 carries in his first game, 10 carries. It's not going to go right back to the old days of 18, 20 carries for Nick Chubb. All right, let's go to the Carolina Panthers. Scott?
Yeah, they're now expecting Jonathan Brooks to be back around week 3, week 4, a little more ahead of schedule, unlike Chubb, who the reports are might take a little longer.
Yes.
Chuba Hubbard had a knee injury scare this week, should be fine. He was already better than Miles Sanders, should start the year out. And Deontay Johnson day-to-day with a groin.
Deontay Johnson, one of my favorite sleepers in this draft. Brian, let's go to the Ravens. What's happening?
Golden Gopher Rashad Bateman getting rave reviews. No one's laughing at that. No one sees it.
I don't even get it.
Thor laughed. Never mind. Thor got it at least. Rave reviews from John Harbaugh, Baltimore Ravens.
Oh.
I'm going to leave now. All right, anyway.
Okay.
Here's what Harbaugh had to say about...
Did you guys all get that? I didn't get that.
You guys need to start drinking more or something, man. Jeez. All right, Rashad Bateman, rave reviews from John Harbaugh. He said, quote, Bateman's going to take a big step. The ball's going to get to him a lot more. He's expected to be a top receiver in the league for us. That's what we're planning on. We've heard this a lot, but the Coach Speak Index, if you don't follow the Coach Speak Index on Twitter, I recommend it. It says Harbaugh has an 85% reliability rating. So
that's high.
Okay. You got to believe Harbaugh here. Yeah. Bateman will break out this year. It's going to finally happen.
Yeah. That was one of the great things about Mike Zimmer. Dude just told the truth all the time, whether you wanted to hear it or not, which was great. Thor, let's go to Tampa Bay.
I want to talk a little bit about Jalen McMillan, the rookie wide receiver from Washington, who's getting a lot of hype. I like Jalen McMillan quite a bit, actually. I rated him above Jalen Polk in the draft. Obviously, he went a round and a half above. But here my concern is that the coaches are talking about moving Chris Godwin back into the slot.
Yes.
This year they're talking about using McMillan on the outside. I'm just going to tell you guys right now, that's not going to work. Jalen McMillan is like a Tyler Boyd-type slot receiver. This is just being done out of necessity for boundary wide receiver depth. I think Jalen McMillan now becomes a dynasty, a guy that you target there and probably buy low on during the season because I don't think he's going to be doing much early on unless Godwin gets injured.
All right. And Mike, it might take Mike Evans to retire before he's got a reasonable spot in this offense. Let's go to the Texans. Joe Mixon returned from a quad injury. I'm just going to take this opportunity to second what Matt Harrison said on this show yesterday. I think the decline in metrics and the decline in play for Mixon last year was noticeable. Cincinnati shipped him off to Houston. This is I'm nervous about him, and I don't believe he's good enough to do anything more than what Houston's electric offense gives him the opportunity to do. There's still a scenario here where Dameon Pierce or Cam Akers end up having a factor in this offense. I'm not giving up on Dameon Pierce quite yet. You'll remember I urged the
love
Bills
your
for years to stick with Zach Moss. They didn't do it, and he turned out to be a good player. I'm holding firm on my Dameon Pierce takes.
You hear that, Tank Bigsby guy? You got to buy a Dameon Pierce jersey.
That's right. That one's next. All right, Scott, let's go to Jacksonville.
Yeah, I don't know that he does because Tank Bigsby reportedly going to see a larger role this year, which would be, basically anything compared to last year.
You remember Bigsby scored in week 1, scored in week 2, then dropped a couple of balls, had a fumble, and never saw the field again.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. Brian Thomas Jr. also can't stop making great plays to the point where opposing beat reporters can't stop talking about it in scrimmages.
Yeah, I'm very high on him.
By the way, Christian Kirk missing practice time with a calf injury. Brian Thomas already has a pretty good path to a role, but if there's injuries, oof.
Yeah, we're going to talk more about Christian Kirk later in the show. I'm very excited for him. Brian, let's go to the Bengals.
Jamar Chase still not practicing. He's looking to get paid. He's really playing for the wrong team if he's looking to get paid early. He's got 2 years left on his contract. The final year of his rookie deal this year and the 5th-year option that the Bengals exercised earlier this offseason. I think this gets settled, but I'm starting to get a little nervous about Jamar Chase not practicing. He's been at practice, but recently hasn't even been at practice. So if there's a dip, I'm still buying, but keep your eye on Jamar Chase. So, big name holding out right now.
We're watching that one closely. Thor, let's go to Seattle. What's happening?
So this isn't the thing I want to talk about, but I do just have to say it. JSN is going to the moon this season. I think he's in for a huge season. But the note that I wanted to mention, Kenneth Walker, the coaches keep talking about him beating the drum of a 3-down back with him.
Yeah.
I mean, we thought Charbonnet was going to take over as the pass catcher there, if not as a rookie, then going forward. Walker acquitted himself better as a receiver last season than certainly he did at Michigan State when they didn't use him on passing downs really at all. So if he's going to be the 3-down back going forward, obviously fantasy stock up.
For the Titans, Traylon Burks is running with the first-team offense. You remember Traylon Burks? Yeah. The corpse of Traylon Burks running with the first-team offense. But that's because DeAndre Hopkins is out. And despite the prospect of being a Week 1 starter, Traylon Burks, his ADP, 314. That's pretty low, I'm pretty sure. He's wide receiver 101, which is a revelation that there's 101 wide receivers in the NFL. Right next to Traylon Burks in ADP, by the way, something called Louis Rees-Zammit, who I just hope makes an NFL team because his name is Louis Rees-Zammit.
He's a rugby guy
cool.
the Chiefs grabbed
for
possible kick returns.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. I'm impressed you guys know something about Louis Rees-Zammit, rugby guy. Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears sharing first-team offense looks. Spears got a short touchdown last weekend. Pollard has been more effective with his carries. And the last thing with the Titans, which is not normally an offense to spend a lot of time on, if in case you need another reason not to draft tight end Chiga Okonkwo, he may be demoted to a timeshare, and he's splitting first-team reps with Josh Wiley, who's a better blocker. So Chiga Okonkwo, to me, not interested.
Yeah, I wasn't drafting him anyway.
I don't think you were. Kansas City, you mentioned the Chiefs. You going to break down Louis Rees-Zammit for us?
No, I'm not. I'm just going to mention Hollywood Brown expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks with that sternoclavicular shoulder joint injury. Won't need surgery. He's going to let it heal on its own. And also, the Chiefs are likely to enter this season with just Pacheco and Clyde Edwards-Helaire at running back. So makes Helaire a little bit draftable in case they're that thin.
That Deneric Prince period was sure.
Yeah, I remember that, those 2 games.
Hey, he got a couple reps the last game.
Let's go to the Colts, Brian.
Rookie receiver Adonai Mitchell turning heads recently, and we mentioned this last week. Josh Downs out with a high ankle sprain for at least 6 weeks, so some serious steam from Adonai Mitchell right now, someone who's climbing up draft boards, and we're still not liking Alec Pierce a whole lot, right, Fish, even though he's very cardiovascular fit.
No. He runs track out there.
He runs a lot of
does.
laps, but no catches.
Thor, let's go to the Saints. And if it were up to me, the entire thing would be about Rashid Shaheed, as you know. But I'm guessing you've got something else.
No, you guessed wrong.
All right, yes.
We're talking about Rashid Shaheed.
Yes, all right.
But maybe some cold water, unfortunately.
Oh.
So Rashid Shaheed.
Turn off his mic.
He had a foot injury. Now he has a hamstring injury, a separate one. For a speed guy, that's a big part of the utility there. Little bit concerning now that how close are we to the season? We're a few weeks away. If he is compromised at all or has to miss game time, Chris Olave, a guy that I already love, is even further up. I think Chris Olave is being underdrafted, but certainly monitor Rashid Shaheed if you are an owner like Paul and I are in plenty of leagues.
Yeah.
All right, final update for this segment. In Philadelphia, open battle for the backup role behind Saquon Barkley. Your incumbent is Kenneth Gainwell. He is getting tested by rookie fourth-rounder Will Shipley. I think Shipley, Thor, is a little faster, a little more athletic than Kenneth Gainwell, but Gainwell knows the system, right? He's not going to screw anything up. Do you think Shipley at any point is a problem for Kenneth Gainwell?
I don't like Shipley. Shipley's not a good between the tackles runner, so he just has to do the receiving stuff. He drops too many balls, at least for me. So Gainwell might be safe there.
All right. Drops more balls than a hernia specialist? Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I was saying.
I thought that's what you were trying to get to. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll go through the rest of the NFL, give you the updates on the training camp, plus the perfect first-round draft will be unveiled. We've got 4 different variations of a perfect draft. Ultimately, the crowd here will decide which is most perfect. And the reach around coming up between now and the rest of the show, Fantasy Football Weekly. All right. Welcome back, Fantasy Football Weekly. Paul Charchian. Yeah, absolutely. Our live audience here at Treasure Island. Thank you so much for coming down. Great to be here. We love actually seeing the faces of the listeners. Well, most of your faces, not necessarily all of you.
So mean. So mean.
Paul Charchian, Thor Nystrom, Scott Fish, Brian Johnson. We're rolling through training camp news. Coming out of that, we'll talk about our perfect drafts. We are up with the Los Angeles Chargers. Scott.
Sure. Best ball and rookie fever dream, Kamani Vidal, projected to miss the cut now after Jared Patterson's been out playing him, also a small school 6th-round pick. He's also listed behind Elijah Dotson, J.K. Dobbins, and Gus Edwards aren't losing their jobs, and Isaiah Spiller's the special team starter. So he might be out of a roster spot.
We talked about him favorably a week ago, and now this.
Yeah.
Yes.
The tweets about him out there are, all right, send him to the Cowboys. Get him on another
no
place he
kidding.
can
Get him
start.
on the Cowboys. I know that one is worth watching for sure. I drafted Ezekiel Elliott in like the 9th round of a guillotine league with 18 teams. So nobody interested in him right now.
Is that ours? Is that?
Yeah, I think you're actually in that one. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for passing him that many times.
Yeah.
Brian, let's go to the Raiders. What's happening?
Raiders have the most heated quarterback battle in the league. I really want to know who's going to win this job because I'm pretty high on this offense all of a sudden, especially the pass catchers. Devontae Adams, of course, Jacoby Myers, my boy, and Brock Bowers. Buying all of them in bulk, and whether it's Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew, I'm team AOC. I know you're team Minshew, Charge.
I am. I'm team
Minshew.
Minshew.
Want to break the tie, but either one is going to be serviceable and some serious late-round value in either best ball or superflex.
Yeah,
for sure.
A lot of Viking fans in the room, we remember Aiden O'Connell from that 3-0 game last year. That makes it a little bit hard to muster enthusiasm for him.
Classic rewatch.
That really is, right? Instant classic, that one. Let's go to San Francisco, Thor.
Brandon Ayuk rumors. I know you guys are as sick of them as I am. We have another change today. Apparently now there's a better chance he's going to stay with San Francisco, be it through an extension or he wants the other year of his contract reworked. It still might get traded. I mean, we're going to have to see. We're not at the finish line yet. But if he were to be traded, I think the biggest beneficiary would be George Kittle because Ayuk is their single high coverage guy. He destroys single high coverage. Kittle's the other one. Deebo Samuel is the double high guy, the 2 high safety guy where he eats. So just something to keep an eye on. But right this second, it would appear that Brandon Ayuk will be staying, but could change in 10 minutes.
Right, it could.
I don't think he's
what about Ricky Pearsall if he goes?
I like Ricky
moves.
Pearsall.
Sure.
Yeah, quite a bit. He'd been struggling with the injuries, but if we get the Ayuk trade and then Pearsall gets over those injuries, I think he starts fast. It's a guy who was wide receiver 1 the last 3 years for Jaden Daniels at Arizona State, Anthony Richardson at Florida, and then Graham Mertz last season. Very good route runner, maybe the best set of hands in the entire class. That's stuff that Kyle Shanahan can use.
All right, fantastic. Let's go to the Lions. Jahmyr Gibbs has got a hamstring injury. We hate hamstrings because they're nagging, they re-injure, but fortunately, he suffered it 27 days before the start of the season, and the timetable's got him coming back before week 1. And in the preseason, you don't take any chances with the hamstring injury. You just rest him. In the regular season, desperate teams do dumb stuff, and they rush people back from hamstrings. That won't happen here. And the only other thing of the Lions, where there isn't a ton of action fantasy-wise, Craig Reynolds and Sion Vaki. Is that right, Thor? Sion Vaki?
Sione, I believe. But yeah,
Sione.
Vaki.
Sione Vaki are battling for the roster spot behind Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Who is Sion Vaki? Do I need Sione Vaki?
He played safety most of his career at Utah.
That's not a good sign.
And then one random week last year, the Utes had all these injuries, and they switched him to running back without telling anyone against Cal. The guy ran for like 175 yards.
Shut up.
Seriously,
wow.
Yeah. And I guess the Lions, now you have the versatility, but they're playing him more at running back. But, interesting player.
All right. Let's go to the New England Patriots. Scott?
Yeah, there's a few things here, but I'll just stick to the quarterback situation where Jacoby Brissett has not looked good. Drake May, just a week ago, they thought maybe he should sit for a while, and then he gets a rushing touchdown and has a really good night last night. And now they all want him to start. So keep an eye on that one, but I think we might start to see May earlier than expected.
Brian, let's go to Dallas.
The Patriots have like 8 sleeper wide receivers this year. I feel like Kayshon Boutte a thing again. So, all
right.
Anyway, the Cowboys, we got to go to Dallas, I guess, where CeeDee Lamb's still holding out. Another monster name wide receiver, refusing to play until he gets paid. We'll see if Jerry Jones calls his bluff or not. But Brandon Cooks is banged up with a knee injury. That means Jalen Tolbert's stock is surging. He was going virtually undrafted in 18-round leagues earlier this summer. He's now going in the 14th round, and that might keep climbing. So hopefully you packed your bags on Jalen Tolbert because, again, price is going up, but a guy you want to keep tabs on.
Thor, let's go to Arizona.
Yeah, what I want to talk about here is Trey Benson, a guy who, he was a difficult evaluation because he ripped it up in 2022. He broke the PFF charting record in college for missed forced tackle rate. But then last year, do you guys remember Kalen Ballage?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kalen Ballage was another big athletic freak at running back who ran the ball like he had the vision of Mr. Magoo, or like he was wearing drunk goggles. And sometimes we saw that last year with Trey Benson, another athletic freak who also has a multi-faceted skill set. He's a good receiver too, but sometimes the vision and the feel waver on him, and that's what we've been seeing so far in camp. So not good for this coming season. It is good, though, from the perspective of James Conner, who now has a stranglehold on that RB1 job.
He really does, and I think being underdrafted right now
for
as
sure.
well.
Yeah, in lieu of that, for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you some great data on him after the show.
On Kalen Ballage?
I can't believe
Caleb Ballage.
I got more to say about Kalen Ballage.
Kalen Ballage. What do you want to talk about next? Alfred Blue?
Don't put it past me.
Chicago's trying to salvage the career of Velus Jones by moving him to running back. He scored in last week's preseason game. Bears have got that deep roster of running backs, though. It's a real problem, and nobody's going to come out of that, I think, with much of Velus Jones isn't going to come out of that with much time. The Bears' other runners have gotten mixed usage. It's believed that DeAndre Swift is going to be the lead back, but Khalil Herbert has looked really good in the 2 preseason games. Roshan Johnson's still there. I know that you were high on him last year. And last year they rotated the backs a lot, but that was a Luke Getsy offense. Now we've got Shane Waldron in, and he really pounded Kenneth Walker last year. So I think this thing is still up in the air on how Chicago's going to use their backs, but the belief is that DeAndre Swift will be the lead back. But I still view this as a fluid and potentially frustrating backfield.
I don't like that.
Bears fan was laughing while you were talking about Velus Jones as a running back. He was trying to hold it in.
Ridiculous. Let's go to the not Commanders, Giants. Scott.
Malik Neighbors looking incredible. Tweaked his ankle this week. Should be fine. Returned right back to practice Thursday. Tyrone Tracy, who I know Thor and I really like, carted off after a sprained ankle earlier this week. Also returned back to practice Thursday. Apparently, they just keep spraining ankles and coming right back. So they should both be fine. Tracy, I like, is a really deep sleeper this year.
All right, let's go to the Commanders. Brian?
A receiver we were all high on last year, Jahan Dotson. Yeah, he wet the bed big time. He is not locked in as a starter this year alongside Terry McLaurin. It could be Olamide Zaccheaus. Did I say that right, Scott?
Zaccheaus.
Maybe rookie Luke McCaffrey, who Thor loves. Can McCaffrey play the boundaries, Thor?
Sure can.
Okay. But, Dotson looking a little dicey for him. He has been getting work in the slot, though, so he should be on the field. But he's going well ahead of Luke McCaffrey. I think those ADPs should probably be flipped at this point.
Yeah.
What do you say, Thor?
Agreed. Yeah, and the concern there, if Dotson does come in as wide receiver 3, is you guys recall Washington drafted Ben Sinnott in the second round. Mm-hmm. Ben Sinnott's been great so far this preseason. They could be going to more 12 personnel offense. Obviously, the wide receiver 3 is going to get yanked off the field when that happens.
All right, Thor, let's go to the Jets.
Malachi Corley, a guy who I tried to tell everyone in the spring was not good, has predictably not been good early on in camp. Malachi Corley is not a wide receiver. He is a glorified running back who plays slot receiver. At Western Kentucky, he got a metric ton of catches because they would just shuttle him the ball off close to the line of scrimmage. They did this air raid, whatever. And then Malachi Corley broke a bunch of tackles of crappy Conference USA defenses. Conference USA is now the worst conference in the FBS. But for me, Corley harkens back to when Green Bay drafted Amari Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers hated working with him, and then he was quickly ushered out. Malachi Corley has basically the exact same game, and I don't know that he's going to be playing much this year.
All right, great intel. Falcons, Michael Penix, that first-round pick, the shocking first-round pick, looked very promising in his NFL debut. They've said Kirk Cousins will not play in the preseason, so we're not going to get any ability to compare and contrast those two. Cousins, by all reports, is fully healed from the Achilles injury. No issues there. Throwing the ball and planting very, very well. Wide receiver Rondell Moore lost for the season with a knee injury. That solidifies playing time for Darnell Mooney. And for anybody who wants a really deep play, Ray McLeod is your new number 3 wide receiver for the Falcons. Couple of teams left. Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I wish I could be talking about Brandon Ayuk right now, but
yeah, wouldn't that be
his
nice?
Steelers career kind of rivals Antonio Brown's Bills career. So Jalen Warren couldn't fully beat out Najee Harris somehow. So it still might be a split. And with Arthur Smith there, both in contract years, I don't want anything to do with that.
No.
Also of note, Russell Wilson in practice threw a touchdown pass to Justin Fields, and Justin
Did
Fields
he
caught
really?
it one-handed.
All
so
right.
Justin Fields, kick returner, wide receiver, and quarterback at this point.
You can break open your scoring system right there.
Yeah.
Brian, how about our very own Minnesota Vikings?
I don't know what's happened with the Vikings lately.
I had nothing to talk about here.
The rest of the segment.
I just want to take a minute to talk directly to Sam Darnold out there. I hope he can hear this. It's time for all Vikings fans and fantasy football players to rally behind Sam Darnold, who's going to resurrect his career with the Minnesota Vikings, throwing to the greatest wide receiver in the world. Has never played for a real football team, so I'm sorry about J.J. McCarthy, especially to Thor.
Yeah.
By the way,
tough loss.
Thor pegged the J.J. McCarthy real-life draft. I mean, so impressive. McCarthy will be back, but it's Sam Darnold season, baby. Summer of Sam. Let's go. Couple, come on. People still reluctant to support Sam Darnold. I don't get
they're understandably hesitant. My favorite thing on Darnold that I've turned up since the Vikings signed him, of every head coach and offensive coordinator he has ever started for, so not San Francisco last year, but everybody else, and it's a long list because they kept churning head coaches and offensive coordinators on all these teams, one of them is in the league today. All the rest are out of work. I mean, Sam Darnold has been dealt a bad hand. That does not mean he's going to be good, but there's reason for optimism, and it's clear this is the best landing spot that he's had in his career. All right, Thor, you've actually got the last 2 teams, Broncos and then the Rams.
With the Broncos, I got a couple ones. Javonte Williams has looked really, really good in camp, so that's good to see. Finally looks like he's getting close to 100%. Looks like he's going to be the early down back with McLaughlin probably becoming the receiving back. And then the other thing, Marvin Mims looks hitting on the wide receiving core. Marvin Mims looks like he's toast. Troy Franklin has been terrible so far. Josh Reynolds would be the beneficiary of all this if both that continues. In addition to more targets going to the running backs, in this case, McLaughlin. And the one other sort of deep sleeper guy I wanted to shout out here, Devon Vele from Utah, was a collegiate teammate of Hockey.
Yeah.
He has been getting some pub in camp. He's like this blank canvas guy who didn't do anything in college, but he's 6'5", 210, and he had a RAS of 98th percentile. I mean, he is an athletic freak. Last year, Utah's quarterback situation was terrible, so maybe we won't hold that against Vele. Someone to monitor if you're in super deep dynasty formats.
What's his name again?
Devon Vele.
Okay, Devon Vele, not Vandalay. Gotcha.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
All right, last thing, Rams. Then we'll wrap up.
Rams, Jordan Whittington had a good preseason game. He's been getting some hype. And Sean McVay did say he's going to have a role.
Going to be a factor, I believe he said.
Or a factor.
Yep. Well
I'm
said.
not buying the hype on Jordan Whittington. You guys remember what I just said about Malachi Corley? Jordan Whittington is a poor man's Malachi Corley.
It's a Dollar Tree.
Yes, he's another manufactured touch slot receiver who's actually more of a running back. In that game, he got touches against guys who are going to be practice squad or out of the league against soft zone vanilla coverage. When you're sitting back, the defense is sitting back. That's when you can get the manufactured touches to that guy. Sure, he could break some tackles of guys who are going to be out of the NFL in a couple weeks. I don't see it happening during the regular season. He is certainly not Puka Nacua.
No Puka Nacua.
No Puka Nacua.
All right, outstanding.
He's not even DeMarcus Robinson. Right?
No,
Correct,
he probably isn't, as a matter of fact.
I love me some
Yes.
DeMarcus Robinson. I don't know about you guys,
Yeah,
but he's
there we
in for
go.
a good year, too.
When we come back, the perfect first round, can it be done? We're going to give you our 4 variations of what we think is the perfect first round. You, in attendance, will be able to vote for the best one. We'll talk it through the first round when we come back to Fantasy Football Weekly live at Treasure Island. This is a highlight of our year for sure. We love talking to all of you, seeing you all here. Everybody's excited for football season, fantasy football season. Don't know for sure what's going to happen with the Vikings, but we do know that it's going to be a great fantasy year. They all are. Let's talk through the perfect first round. We each think, the four of us, that we have concocted the perfect first round. You will have the opportunity to weigh in with your own preferences and see who's closest to what you think is perfect. We're going to show you each round of a 12-team draft in the first round, and we'll talk through each one of the rounds. Now, the first round, there's not a lot to say because all four of your hosts are on Christian McCaffrey. Even me, you know I'm Mr. Do the Opposite. I don't like to take running backs in my drafts, but sometimes it's so compelling that even I would take a running back in the first round. No objections to this, right? Is there anybody here who would not make this Christian McCaffrey pick? I got one, too. Who would you take? Yell it out. Priest Holmes and Tyreek Hill. Okay. Brees Hall. Okay, right. Not Priest Holmes. Okay, got it. Got it. Okay.
I mean, speaking of Priest Holmes, I mean, McCaffrey is like the closest thing that we've had to Priest Holmes, LaDainian Tomlinson. He's that.
very true.
I mean, it's a dying breed. There's
look at
one
that.
more
Look
running.
at that.
There he is.
Oh, we got a Priest Holmes jersey here.
Wow. Yeah.
Man, what are the odds?
Love it.
That's
Look at that.
Priest Holmes.
Dang.
Priest Holmes and Tank Bigsby.
Dude, that's all. We got Priest
all
Holmes
the
and Tank
greats.
Bigsby here. Just similar career arcs. All right, let's go to pick number 2 of the first round, and we finally get some different answers. Thor, you're probably the biggest outlier here with Justin Jefferson in your number 2 position in the first round. Talk to us about why you've got Justin Jefferson here.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be a ludicrous target hound this year. I mean, so Hawkinson, as we all know, is not going to be starting the season. I also start to wonder when Hawkinson is, like, preparing to come back. There's no need to rush him, right? I mean, so they're going to let Hawkins, because the Vikings are not going to be good this year, they're going to let him have as much time as he wants. And then Addison, we'll see about the start of the season, but then we might get a suspension in October. That's when his court date is. And then also, the other thing is the game scripts are going to be going in the direction of the passing game as well. Justin Jefferson last year was on a 2,000-yard pace, playing with the trashiest quarterbacks you've ever seen.
Whoa. What are you saying about Kirk Cousins, your NFL passing leader, when he went down?
Perhaps not Cousins, but there was other
you meant after Cousins.
After,
all right.
So you're saying they don't have a trashy quarterback anymore, and you believe in Sam Darnold?
That's exactly what I was saying,
Yeah,
Brian.
finally.
Exactly what I was saying. And I think the offense will be a little bit better than people think. The Vikings have a really, really good offensive line. They're going to be able to run the ball this year. They finally have a competent starting running back. And, again, metric ton of targets for Justin Jefferson.
Now, for Brian and Scott Fish, if at this time next week, we're doing Fantasy Football Weekly next week, and CeeDee Lamb still hasn't shown up, is he in your number 2 position like you've got him right now?
Yeah, I'm not worried about a holdout. When was the last meaningful holdout, like non-rookie stud that missed game? Was that Emmitt Smith in the early 90s? Like,
yeah, it's been a while.
We've had a couple rookies, but all the more recent ones, 2018, 2019, 2012, they all came back the week before the season started. So next week, I'm still not worried.
Still not worried. I've got Tyreek Hill in my number 2 position because I love the consistency, and I love the fact that they use him near the goal line. We'll talk more about that. 170 and 171 targets the last 2 years.
CeeDee Lamb, 10 yards per carry last year, 2 rushing touchdowns. All right. I forgot about that. I don't know if I ever knew that, actually.
Yeah, impressive. All right, the third pick overall, we've got Bijan Robinson, Brees Hall, and CeeDee Lamb.
I like your
Bijan
draft.
Robinson, once again, Thor, bucking a lot of trends here. Talk to me about Bijan all the way up at pick number 3.
Yeah, he's going to get a big-time usage spike in what is going to be a much better offense. And an offense this year being run by an analytics guy, you could say that Arthur Smith would be the opposite of that. I think would be
probably yes.
Fair to say. I just think both those things in combination, the spiked usage in a much better offense.
Tyler Algier scares me. I just think he's going to have another season where he gets more of a role, and especially at the goal line.
I don't know. As a guy who played in a league with Tyler Algier,
yes, as a close personal friend that you are.
That guy went 7-7. He's kind of mid. He's kind of in the average.
All right, so Brian, Tell me about Breece Hall. What do you like about Breece Hall enough to move him all the way up to number 3 here?
Yeah, it's early for a running back, but Breece Hall kind of feels like he's fallen into that Priest Holmes, LaDainian Tomlinson tier of yore. I mean, 76 catches last year. He was coming off major knee injury. I mean, he's going to get bell cow usage in New York behind a good offensive line, a good offense. He could very well usurp McCaffrey as the overall top fantasy player this
Also, he had 11 rushes over 15 yards and 7 receptions over 20 yards.
How about that?
Just explosive.
Breece Hall is such a better pass catcher than I think most people realize.
95 targets.
How about that? 95? That's a ton. It's Eckler-like. Let's go to pick number 4 of the first round. Jamar Chase, Bijan Robinson, and Jamar Chase. So let's talk about Jamar Chase for a minute. Brian, what made you put Jamar Chase here?
He's pretty nasty. I don't know. He's just really good strength of schedule for Cincinnati wide receivers. And what separates Chase from me for Jefferson, and now I'm going to sort of talk down on Sam Darnold, but it's his quarterback. Jamar Chase has the best quarterback of all the elite wide receivers. Better than Dak, better than Darnold even. That's why. Hopefully he doesn't hold out, though.
All right.
But,
okay.
Jamar Chase can't go wrong there. And huge, massive spike weeks with a safe floor, too. He has single-handedly won leagues.
For sure. Jamar Chase, very, very safe here. 3 of the 4 of us have him in position number 4. I'm holding firm, just 1 running back so far. Let's see what happens next. Pick number 5, CeeDee Lamb, the Sun God. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Justin Jefferson, and Justin Jefferson. We get our first appearance of Amon-Ra St. Brown. Brian, talk about why you've got him higher than anybody else.
Don't like him in guillotine leagues as much with that week 5 bye, but I don't know. Sun God is also safe as it comes. That offense, there's a lot of competition for targets, but he is the alpha. And, weather terrorism is not going to affect the Lions this year. They play all but 2 games indoors, I think.
Yep.
So
no cold weather games.
I put stock into that, and I don't know. Even though he was kind of annoying in that receiver show in my mind, I don't care. What's up points? So I'm drafting.
Even in guillotine leagues, he had double-digit PPR points in almost every game.
He did.
Yeah,
It's
it was
the
like
week
16
5
of 17 games.
He was,
yes.
Yeah, he was a top 15 receiver 10 times last year.
Yep. I could not. Even with that early bye, I'm all over Amon-Ra St. Brown, even in the guillotine format. Justin Jefferson has now been accounted for by everybody except Brian. Let's see if he shows up here. And there he goes. So, Thor, you finally got Breece Hall in here. I still haven't taken him, and it's not because I don't love Breece Hall. It's just because he's a running back, and we've still got awesome receivers on the board. And philosophically, I'm sticking with proven awesome receivers over basically everybody except Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit different of a strategy. I tend to go running backs a little bit earlier if they get.
Clearly.
Yeah, I mean, if the usage is there, the projected usage is there because the position falls off so fast. And I agree with everything that Brian was saying about Breece Hall and our friend over there that said he was he would take him number one.
Yeah.
A metric ton of usage is coming. You guys recall Breece Hall came into the league with the injury, and everything like that. And now you're going to see him at the peak of his powers. And then outside of Garrett Wilson, what else do they have there? I think he's going to get a lot of targets as well. Mike Williams, can he stay healthy? You know my opinion of Malachi Corley. And
right.
Then it's just like Conklin, and he's like the efficiency guy. But yeah, I think a lot of usage coming for Breece.
All right, let's go to pick number 7. Tyreek Hill, and A.J. Brown. It sounds like one of the slot machines right outside the door here. Tyreek Hill. All right, so I had Tyreek Hill way up at number 2. You guys are killing me right now. What is it that you don't like about Tyreek Hill to punish him way down to number 7?
I just feel like I'm scared to death every time he's playing that he's not going to finish the game. I mean, last year he was on a record-setting pace, and he fizzled out. And I'm not predicting injury by any means. He's on the wrong side of 30.
I think Charch just isn't accounting for Jonnu Smith. I think that's what's
you're
happening
not.
I always account for Jonnu Smith.
Here's my angle on Hill, though. Wherever you get him, he'll probably get off to a great start. I flip him after a hot start because their playoff schedule is brutal, Miami. So at any point, like last year, if you were to trade Tyreek Hill in Week 8, you could have gotten anything you wanted in return. And if he gets off to that kind of start again, I'm going to flip Hill for major games.
I think it's just a little nitpicky. You got Jonnu in, you got Achane, who might take a bigger step forward, especially in the pass game. And yeah, it's just a little nitpicky. I could go on, but you.
Let's go to pick number 8, A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown, 2 A.J. Browns, Jamar Chase and Breece Hall. Brian, give me 15 seconds on A.J. Brown here.
Philly's going to throw more with new OC Kellen Moore.
Yep.
You would suspect. And A.J. Brown, he's a beast. He's legit. And Devontae Smith is legit too, but I just think Philly's going to be throwing a ton, and A.J. Brown, he's about as safe a pick as you can get with this pick in my mind. So I'm happy to have A.J. Brown on the board.
All right, let's go to selection number 9. Puka Nacua making his first appearance. Garrett Wilson, Garrett Wilson. Thor, this is your chance to peacock a little bit on Puka Nacua.
Yeah, you guys know what I think about Puka. It's weird that, like, to me, to see, like, people fading him. I don't really understand the justification of that. I don't know why he wouldn't just get better now that he's second-year guy, more experience there. Yeah, I mean, he's going to get pounded with targets, Cooper Kupp or not.
Yeah. All right, we need to take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap up our perfect first round. We'll see who you think is the leader in our attempt to be perfect with our first round. And when we come back, it's time to give you the reach around. It's Fantasy Football Weekly live from Treasure Island.
like talking to you. I was hearing that too.
Welcome back, Fantasy Football Weekly, live from Treasure Island. Thank you all for being here. We've got, they're telling me, they've just told me, 1,500 people watching along, KFAN.com right now. Hello, streamers. Great to see you. Thank you for watching.
Can I say hi to my dog, too, Ruby? Ruby's watching.
Oh, Ruby. Hi, Ruby. Hi, Ruby. Oh, Ruby's the best.
And
we love
Christina,
Ruby.
my wife, I love you.
and also my wife, but mostly Ruby.
Ruby.
Ruby's awfully cute. I can't say I
She
can't.
is.
You can't call a buddy's wife cute. Then things get weird. Ruby, super cute. Thor Nice from Scott Fish, Brian Johnson with you. We are working through the first round of what our attempt to have a perfect first round draft. And we've made it through 9 selections. We're going to wrap up picks 10, 11, and 12 in similar fashion. And here is selection number 10. Jonathan Taylor, Bijan Robinson, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Adams. I guess I will talk for a minute about Devontae Adams.
Sure.
Who here has drafted Devontae Adams and been burned? When?
Charch did not expect
I didn't
hands to
expect
go
anybody
up
to raise their hand. Super safe. What's that?
his first couple of years.
Yeah, first couple of years. Yeah, if you go back far enough, right? You remember when he was dropping all those passes
Yeah.
with the Packers in the early years? And
There are memes
we
for
were
it.
pretty
Yeah, it
sure
was
that it was
bad.
never going to come together, but boy, has it. You got to go a long time to find disappointment with Devontae Adams. I think Gardner Minshew, don't listen to Brian, Gardner Minshew will bring added competence. I don't want his competency at quarterback, and we know Minshew can deliver that. Devontae Adams, super safe, tons of targets. So I'll be the first person to take him off the board at selection number 10.
Sure.
Thor, you're the first person to go to Jonathan Taylor. Tell me why you like Jonathan Taylor at pick 10.
You know, last year he gets the late start to the season, and when he was there, Richardson had gotten hurt. We know from the analytics, looking back now several years, players that play with quarterbacks that have, a bunch of rushing attempts, the dual threat guys, they get about a half a yard added to their ledger. It's just something that really helps running back. So him playing next to Richardson, I like the weapons. They've fleshed that out as well. The offense is going to be better this year.
It is going to be better this year, and maybe quite good if Richardson comes together nicely here.
For sure.
I just wish Jonathan Taylor caught more. That's all. It's the only knock on him.
That's what Minnesota's own Evan Hull is there for.
Oh, you
Maple
think
Grove
so?
in the house.
I
do,
know.
yeah.
You
The
think so?
Incredible Hull.
The Incredible Hull.
How
Coming
many?
back this year.
All right. How many catches you got on Evan Hull this year?
I'll give him 42.
Wow. Okay.
Oh,
That means
Jeez.
they're going to have to throw to him like 65 times.
Is that line available anywhere?
We got to
you
teach
know?
Richardson to check down. He likes rocketing it down the
Ah,
field, but yeah.
And I like him rocketing it down the
Yeah,
field
I do
as
too.
well.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to position number 11 of our Fantasy Football Weekly first round. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jonathan Taylor, Puka Nacua. These are all guys that we've talked about before, but Thor, I keep coming back to you because you have the most contrarian draft here. You've got Amon-Ra St. Brown quite a bit lower than anybody else, 5 spots lower than the next closest person. What's your concern here?
Yeah, I guess it would be ceiling in comparison to those other guys. I like to swing for the fences, and you just go apples to apples with some of those guys that I have above them. I don't like it quite as much. Floor obviously is very, very high. You're buying certainty with him for sure.
Yeah, I love that.
But yeah, the ceiling is where other guys edge him out for me.
Okay. And our last pick of the first round, selection number 12, Derrick Henry, Devontae Adams, and 2 Sam Laportas.
Wow.
Scott, talk
yeah.
to me about Sam Laporta with the final pick of the first round.
Yeah, it's not just that he was a top 7 tight end 10 times last year, 4th in receptions, 5th in yards, 8 receptions over 20-plus yards for a tight end. It's not even just that stuff. It's what it does to my roster construction when I take him at the end of the first round on that corner. that my tight end is done for the draft, and I can take so many shots at running back and wide receiver. In fact, I took him at the corner of our draft earlier this week, and I got a very angry text.
Yes, you did, as a matter of
fact.
fact.
On this panel.
Not happy about that one at all.
Yeah.
I like Sam Laporta here, number 1 tight end. I loved, for all the reasons you talked about, his rookie season was amazing.
Yeah.
Was it, I think, 1,100 yards, 9 touchdowns, something in that ballpark. Just, unbelievable rookie year.
Kyle Pitts-like, yardage-wise.
and only yardage-wise.
Only yardage-wise.
That's right. Okay, now for everybody that's in the house, this is your chance to vote on which one of us has come closest to perfection. I'm not going to reread all of the players for all the people, but I want you to make noise. This is radio. You can't, raise your hand. I need you to make noise for... that represents how much you like that person's draft. We will work our way left to right, beginning with Thor Nystrom. We've got some people who like your contrarian angles, Thor, okay. Brian Johnson. All right, well done. Nailed it. All right.
Nice.
Scott Fish. And then there's me. I'm the guy. I'm the weirdo with only 2 running backs in the first round. How about little old Charge? I'm getting thumbs down from the back of the room back there.
It was just as loud, but I felt like there was some negative.
There were some negative vibes in the room for sure. I think our winner of the most perfect
Do I get to drop it?
I think you should drop it. Brian Johnson, well done, my man. All right, there you go. Out. Brian, we're declaring you the winner. And by virtue of winning, I was going to give you a hot dog, but they're gone now. No more hot dogs for you. It is time.
I'll drink the water, the hot dog water.
Who loves the reach around? These are players that we would take 1 round in advance of their normal draft position. So we will begin by showing you the players going in the 2nd round, and we will tell you for each of us, which of these players we would actually draft 1 round ahead of. We would reach a round for this player. So these are, in this case, 2nd rounders that we would take in the 1st round. Makes sense, I believe. Let's begin with Brian on this. We'll start. You get to go first since you won the previous game.
Well, I faded Puka in the first, really just to get a rise out of Thor, and it didn't work. But Puka certainly worthy of going in the 1st round, so I'm going to take the layup here, and I'm taking Puka.
Scott.
In round 1.
Yeah, I put Laporta down for this. I walk the walk every time it comes up on that back corner. I take Laporta.
Thor, your reach-around player in the 2nd round that you would take in the 1st?
Well, I suppose, it would be Puka and Henry, but already talked about them a little bit. So
right. Give me another name.
I'd rather talk about Chris Olave here. Mentioned before the Shaheed injury, and then also Michael Thomas being gone and Juwan Johnson being hurt. I think there's so many targets that are going to be headed Chris Olave's way.
Yeah, just you love the volume.
I do.
Yeah. I'm also in Sam Laporta. I've just talked about him. I've got him in the 1st round.
There's
120 targets for a rookie tight end last year.
Like 4 players in that list I've taken at the end of the 1st.
Yeah, that would feel good. Yeah, Devontae Adams, I had going. I pick 11 or pick 10. So there's a lot of great opportunities here. What if Sam Laporta is what if as a sophomore he's 25% better? I mean, it would be such a huge differential for you to have a tight end that's going to clock in at that point at like 1,200 yards and 13 touchdowns.
Targets.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. We'd love that. And it is possible that he could get there this year. All right, let's go to round number 2 of our, I guess it'd be round number 3 of our reach around, which would mean these are 3rd round players we would take in the 2nd round. For this one, we begin with Scott.
Come on. Look at that. Come on.
I know.
Nico Collins.
Of course
it's
you're
going to
take.
be Nico
It's got to
Collins.
right. You and I were stumping for Nico Collins 2 years ago for nothing to avoid him here.
I feel like it's been longer than that. It just feels like forever.
What do you like about Nico Collins?
As much as you want to worry about Dell and Diggs taking targets, they're also going to raise the boats on that offense. The rising tide scenario. 2nd best in yards per target, 5th best in yards after the catch as well last year. Just he's going to be the number one, and he's not going to face a lot of brackets and doubles.
All right, Thor, who is your reach-around target in round 3 that you would take with in round 2?
I went with Debo, although I locked in my answer before the newest Ayuk news came out, and again that changes every 10 minutes. But if Ayuk is traded, it's going to be Debo and then ostensibly Pearsall maybe on the other side in an offense where the tight end and then the fullback are on the field all the time. Debo, again, it's just a target and usage thing at that point.
I'm not scared to take the first quarterback off the board. I want to take Jalen Hurts. I mean, why would you not want your quarterback who scores double-digit touchdowns in 3 straight years?
Will he still with that line?
Oh, I absolutely will.
All right.
Let's. I'm trying to remember the name of the new center behind Kelsey, Jason Kelsey, who's gone. But they put second-round equity into that guy, knowing that Kelsey is it. I don't think it's. No, I don't think it is. I'm trying to remember. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's Cam Jurgens. Somebody in the audience will know. He gets to throw to A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. The other quarterback who's going neck and neck with Jalen Hurts is Josh Allen. He's thrown to Keon Coleman and Curtis Samuel. This isn't even close. Jalen Hurts. I'll take all those rushing touchdowns. I'll take the security.
Okay.
I just feel like he's so safe. Good passer. I love all the rushing.
All right, can I give the right answer now?
Please give the right answer, Brian.
It's Isaiah Pacheco, who's going to dominate the touches.
Yeah.
Oh, I like it. The crowd is with you on this.
On every down in an Andy Reid offense with the best quarterback in the world. You're going to get round 1 returns in Pacheco. He's going to finish as RB3. He's going to outscore Bijan. Only Breece Hall and Christian McCaffrey likely to outscore Pacheco here. I'm putting that on wax.
All right, I like it. You've convinced me
Not
on
against
all
it
of
at
those,
all,
honestly. All right, let's move our reach around to round 4. Which of these round 4 players would you take in round number 3? We begin this time with Thor.
This is the easiest one for me so far. It's Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors' ADP shouldn't be what it is here. It should be a round higher. In some drafts, depending, I would even consider him late second round. You see the huge discrepancy between Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors in these rankings. There should not be. That thing should be way closer. And he obviously it's just going to get absolutely pounded with targets. That receiving core before he got there was a wasteland. So, yeah, he's wide receiver 1 the second that card was turned in.
All right. I've got Trey McBride. Did you know from the time Zach Ertz went down last year and Trey McBride became the full-time starter, he was the highest scoring tight end in fantasy football?
Yep.
And now I know there's a lot of people like, whoa, Marvin Harrison, I'm scared, hold me. Marvin Harrison might just open up the middle of the field for Trey McBride. And it's not like this offense can't feature 2 pass catchers. Yeah. I mean, I'm not talking about like the 4th option here. I'm talking about Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride as your obvious 1 and number 2 pass catchers in an offense in which Kyler Murray can feed 2 guys. I like Trey McBride. All right, Brian, who is your reach-around player in round 4 that you would take in round 3?
I like McBride a lot. I like Neighbors a lot. I also like DK Metcalf a lot, so that's my answer. The Seahawks were very run-heavy under Pete Carroll. He's gone now. They have a new offensive coordinator in Ryan Grubb. He was the OC at Washington, the college. Very pass-heavy. That should come over into the NFL. So Seattle's going to flip the script. They're going to be throwing the ball a ton. There's competition for targets with Metcalf, primarily JSN. I'm with Thor. He's going to have a breakout year, but Metcalf is still the best of the bunch, and I think he's sitting on his biggest season yet. So I'll reach around on DK.
All right, Scott, wrap up round 4 for us. Which of these round 4 guys would you take in round 3?
Yeah, I had the same as you, Charch. I had Trey McBride. Second half, as you kind of alluded to there, top 3 in targets, receptions, and yards. I agree with you on Marvin Harrison. I think he serves as not as target competition, but he draws coverage. And that defense is absolutely terrible. They're going to be behind and throwing all the time.
Love it. Okay. Let's go to round number 5. Which of these 5th rounders would you take in the 4th round? I think I am up first on this one. And for me, that is... hold on. Let me see here. No, I'll tell you. I'm going to pass for this while I get my notes
you had
going.
Stroud.
Yeah, I think I did have CJ.
I'm going to guess it's not Alvin Kamara.
I did have CJ. Thank you. I did have CJ Stroud. I had something else in my notes. What I love about Stroud is I don't have to guess which one of the Houston receivers is going to be the good receiver this week. I can just take the guy who's throwing to the deepest, best set of wide receivers in the NFL and that's in Houston. Obviously, Offensive Rookie of the Year last year, and by a mile, really, nobody close. Borderline historic numbers for rookie output for C.J. Stroud. And now, what if he gets better, 25% in year number 2, which he absolutely has room to do. So I love C.J. Stroud here. I have no problem not taking running backs early in the draft, as you know. So I've got Stroud here. Brian, who is your reach-around player from round 5 that you would take in round 4?
Yeah, some good choices in this one. Some people will be upset I'm not taking Kyle Pitts. I was tempted, but I'm going with Amari Cooper. Last season, Cooper had the 4th highest air yards share percentage. Air yards equal big plays, and the Browns expect to have an even more up-tempo offense this year. Cooper was wide receiver 13 in 2022, wide receiver 16 last year. He's going in the mid-20s among wide receivers. It makes no sense, so I'm reaching around on Cooper.
I like that answer. Scott, who is your reach around in round 5?
Yeah, I got Anthony Richardson. I just like I like players that can be game breakers and league winners that just score an absurd amount of points, especially on the ground. Last year when he got injured, he was scoring 0.43 fantasy points per snap.
That's crazy.
Snap. Every 2 times he snapped the ball, he got every
point.
2.5 times he got you a point.
Wow.
Yeah, the next closest was under 0.3 at the time he got injured. Josh Allen with his 15 rushing touchdowns was a little over that by the end of it, but every time he snaps the ball, tons of points out of it.
Anthony Richardson, there's a real window where he's the highest scoring quarterback in fantasy football for Anthony Richardson. All right, Thor, wrap up round 5 for us.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Kenneth Walker here for the reasons we were talking about before. Going to be the 3 down back, and I agree with what Brian's saying. It's going to be a better offense in Seattle this year with Ryan Grubb.
All right, let's go to our final reach around round of this segment, and that's round 6. Moving into round 5, Brian, you are up first.
Well, last week I said Terry McLaurin was going to be a top 10 wide receiver this year, so I better reach around on Terry, who over the last 4 years, McLaurin, one of only 6 wide receivers to top 1,000 yards in each of those seasons. And at the same time, he was bottom 3rd in catchable target rate, getting garbage looks from your boy Sam Howell. I'm sorry to say, Charge. But now McLaurin's got Jaden Daniels, who was the only FBS quarterback last year with 10-plus air yards per attempt and a catchable throw rate of at least 80%. Cliff Kingsbury's the new OC. I see very big things for Terry McLaurin this year.
All right, Scott, who is your reach-around player in round number 6?
Yeah, this one was tough. I thought about Ramondre. I thought about Calvin Ridley. I went with Chris Godwin just because there's absolutely no competition for targets in Tampa Bay with him there. He's going back to his natural slot role, which we've talked about before, where his catches go up, his targets go up, his yards per game go up. Weirdly, he scored more, even though he's a slot, even though from the slot, and slots don't score a lot. Everything goes up with Godwin there. Trey Palmer's the wide receiver 3, and there's just nothing behind him. He's going to be on the field constantly.
All right. And Thor, round 6, who you taking in round 5?
I rarely agree with Brian, but I have to here. I'm going with Terry McLaurin. I think it is Washington's offensive improvement this year is going to be stunning. It's going to knock people's socks off. He mentioned it about Daniels. That's all true. They have a better offensive brass now as well. And then who's going to be the wide receiver 2? Looks like Dotson's going to be out of there. McLaurin's going to get all kinds of targets. And Jaden Daniels loves to hunt downfield as well.
All right, my selection for my reach around in round 6 that I would take in round 5 is Christian Kirk. I alluded to this earlier. Jacksonville's got the 5th most vacated targets, 251 vacated targets. Calvin Ridley gone, Zay Jones gone, and the replacement is Gabe Davis. Oh, low volume Gabe Davis.
Gabe Donut.
Gave us a donut.
Gabe Donut.
Christian Kirk was already a dependable volume guy. That's going to get pushed to the max here. He's sitting on career highs in targets, receptions, yards. I can see him getting 120 to 130 targets in this offense. Christian Kirk, super, super safe. Love him here. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll go through the second half of our reach around. It's such a great segment. We have to do it for 2 full segments. It's Fantasy Football Weekly, live from Treasure Island. rolled over the first round thing. So test up our clock a little bit. All right. Welcome back, Fantasy Football Weekly, live from Treasure Island. This is like the start of football season right here. Oh, we love it. Fantastic. Delighted you're here. Everybody that's watching KFAN.com streaming right now, thank you for watching as well. You will also get to hear the show again locally on KFAN on Saturday morning, 10 o'clock. All right, let's go through the remaining, I think we've got 5 more rounds of our reach rounds. We still got plenty of reach around action for you. Let's go to round number 7. Which 7th rounder would you take in the 6th round? I forgot is Scott, is it your turn to go first?
Sure, I will.
All right,
it's
go
fine.
for it. Sure.
I have Rashee Rice with Hollywood injury for 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
No suspension really in sight at this point. Rice paces to be the top wide receiver option for KC, which didn't used to mean much, but last year it kind of did for him. And over the last month of the season, he was top 10 in receptions, averaging 9 yards, and then 4 after the catch. That wasn't a 9 times.
About that, like you can't say the word 9 around here and think you're not going to get that.
That was still solid audience participation.
It was very
I like
good.
that.
Thank you.
Yes,
Very well
thank you.
done.
Wasn't it? Yeah. All right. 7th in red zone targets with 6 scores, 18.8 PPR points per game over the final 6. Their wide
Yeah.
receiver 1 was actually a thing last year.
Love it. Okay, Rashee Rice. Thor, which 7th rounder would you take in the 6th round?
I was going to say Rashee Rice, but so as not to be redundant, I'm going to toss out Deontay Johnson here. Carolina's offense is going to be way, way better, and Bryce Young is going to be way, way better now that
agreed.
there's somewhat of an offensive line. And what did their receiving core lack last year? Well, everything. But dudes who got open. Deontay Johnson gets open at a rate analogous to any receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, I like that angle. I do think Carolina's offense takes a big step
Yeah,
forward.
Dave Canales,
The coaching
baby.
improvement alone is going
Dave
to
Canales,
count
just
for a
one
lot.
coach alone.
Yeah, I'll just take that.
A nice usage of analogous. That's definitely never been used on Fantasy Football Weekly before. At least in my time.
Well, that's because you never understood what it meant, I think, until now.
I know. I was
So we didn't want to use it.
I was an
We're
English
pretty over your
major,
head.
too. That makes it even sadder.
Zamir White was somebody we highlighted in last week's show. Matt Harrison was extolling the virtues of Zamir White and predicted him to be, I don't remember, something like a top 10 running back, which is possible. It's the run-heavy Antonio Pierce offense. White could be sitting on 300-plus carries. He could be sitting on 40 receptions, all that volume. Alexander Madison, not a threat, especially at the goal line. Right, Vikings fans? Yeah. Do you think he had more fumbles inside the 5 or touchdowns inside the 5 last year?
We're going to find out later.
Well, we are going to find out later. Brian, your reach around for round number 7.
Zamir White. Let's move on.
Okay.
Nothing to
2
add.
Zamir Whites. All right. Well said. Let's go to round number 8. Who would you take in round number 7? Thor.
I want to say 2 guys right now. Roma Dunze, for sure. I think Roma Dunze is going to become their wide receiver 1 faster than people think. But this coming season, I think he's going to be wide receiver 2 pretty much from the get. His game is a perfect fit with Caleb Williams, who loves to scramble around and then chuck the ball downfield 4 seconds after the snap. Last year, Roma Dunze was the best contested catch receiver in college football by both the volume and the rate. And Keenan Allen, people like Keenan Allen, the one thing that Caleb Williams needs to work on that he didn't do at all in college, it was the quick timing routes, the anticipatory throws over the intermediate range. I don't think Keenan Allen's a great fit. Roma Dunze is a perfect fit.
I'm going to take an unpopular choice here. Jordan Addison was last seen passed out behind the wheel of his Rolls Royce in the left lane of LA traffic. And there is the threat of league suspension, but I don't think that's going to hit this year. He rolled his ankle a few days ago. It's all bad right now on Jordan Addison, and I'm buying the dip on Jordan Addison.
Is it the dip if you're reaching around, though?
Well, I guess it's a good point, right? I guess I'm elevating up to. I'm taking the dip to neutral. I don't know. I'm filling in the dip.
Yeah,
Am
sure.
I filling in the dip? Maybe that's it. Filling in the dip. The NFL wheels of justice are so slow that I don't think there's going to be any finality to his court case.
Yeah.
The first hearing is in October. I don't think that thing goes final till next offseason. And the rookie year, 900 yards, 10 touchdowns. Detractors will say, well, Addison was better when Justin Jefferson was gone. And in some cases, that was true, but it was still a very good It was a very good first season for Addison, and Justin Jefferson draws immense coverage away from him. He's got single coverage all the time. He'll get better as a sophomore. I'm going to fill in the dip on Jordan Addison. Brian, who is your reach-around player in round number 8 that you take in round 7?
I thought you'd be with me on Zach Moss, Charge. I'm reaching around on Zach Moss.
Ooh.
Yeah.
On the Bengals now, of course, and he was last year. Joe Mixon, former Bengal, was a top 12 PPR back in 5 of the last 6 seasons with Cincinnati, and he sucked. 4.2 yards per carry. Sorry, Joe, you're going to catch some strays here. Mixon gone now, as we all know. That leaves Moss, who is just as good, if not better, than Mixon. And Moss is certainly better built for the early down work and also a better pass catcher than Chase Brown, who people are convinced is going to be in a timeshare, but I'm not buying it. I think Moss dominates the touches, and I might reach a couple rounds on Moss.
Oh,
all right.
Give him
Scott,
a double reach.
Double reach.
I'll try to be quick here. I have Jonathan Brooks. I just like the idea of a bell cow, getting a bell cow that late. By the end of the season, he's going to be taking everything. You saw it his final year at Texas. He catches passes. He can be a workhorse back. He's only got to beat out Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders.
That's
once
happening.
He's healthy.
Yes.
And like we talked about, I think that Carolina offense is going to be better.
Yep, can't do it in guillotine because I need to stay alive till
Absolutely.
October when he comes back.
Absolutely.
But
Right.
For most standard leagues, Jonathan Brooks, I can wait out.
I'll wait it.
I can wait out that first month.
Especially if an IR spot.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's go to round number 9. These are players that are going off the board in round 9. We would take in round number 8. And I am up first with Jaden Daniels, Washington quarterback. We know rushing quarterbacks break apart your scoring system in your league. It's the case for all of us. Daniels could lead the NFL in quarterback rushing yards. None of us would be surprised if that happened. He's got the 2 things we want from fantasy quarterbacks: a big arm for deep passing and the highlight play mobility, like Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
I'm getting a poor man's Anthony Richardson 2 or 3 rounds later, and maybe it can all come together in his first year with Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff Kingsbury was able to get Kyler Murray up to quarterback 9 in his rookie season. And I think quarterback 9 is kind of the starting point for Jaden Daniels if he stays healthy. Brian, who is your reach-around player?
Same guy as you again. We're agreeing too much. This is
Yeah,
alarming.
I was going to say, right along with Anthony
I'm on
Richardson,
Daniels
same
as
here,
well.
too.
Okay, so we're Daniels.
Daniels.
Thor, who do you have for your reach-around in round number 9?
Love Daniels too, but I'll talk about someone else. Lad McConkey for sure should be going
Sure,
higher
yeah.
than this. So Lad McConkey in last draft class was top 3 amongst the wide receivers in separation percentile. The guy runs routes like a jet ski, like just shooting forward, can then throttle down on a dime. And then the speed coming out, the acceleration coming out of those route breaks. You think about Jim Harbaugh's offense, anyone that watched Michigan last year, the whole ethos of running on early downs, it only works if on 3rd down you're converting, which they did last year. Roman Wilson was the guy on that team. Lad McConkey's a better receiver than Roman Wilson, but is going to be filling that role with the Chargers. He steps in right away and is going to be wide receiver 1 for the Chargers. So maybe even if the passing volume's not there, he's still going to get a bunch of targets in that offense.
All right, let's go to round number 10. These are players going up the board in round 10 that we would take in round number 9. Brian, you get to start this time.
I really like value quarterbacks this year. Sam Darnold, of course. I like Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith, Will Levis. But Jaden Daniels is the one guy I'll pay up for, and the other one is Trevor Lawrence. I'd reach around on Trevor Lawrence, who was getting drafted as QB8 last year. Now he's going off the board as quarterback 16. Lawrence was really banged up last year. Fully healthy now. Jacksonville did lose Calvin Ridley, Zay Jones, but rookie Brian Thomas Jr., I always want to call him Brian Thomas Johnson. That's me.
Yes.
I'm not as good as him, not even close. And Gabe Davis filled that void pretty much. So lots of upside for Trevor Lawrence. He's going way too cheap.
Scott, your reach-around player in round 10.
Yeah, remember last year how we kept doing this to Texans players?
Yes.
You had Christian Kirk.
Yeah.
He had Trevor Lawrence. Now I'm bringing up Brian Thomas Jr.
How about that? All right. We're all in on Jaguars.
Are we in on the Jaguars?
Yeah.
You already mentioned the ridiculous amount of vacated targets, like 230 something. Over 75% of their red zone targets also went away.
Oh.
Only one player, Calvin Ridley, had 25 red zone targets. No one else had over 10. And Brian Thomas Jr., big, 6'3", contested catch guy.
Yep.
Perfect to fill into that role. he's going to have to fight off Gabe Davis to a degree, and Christian Kirk mostly plays the slot. There's no one else to really fight him off for that other outside role. He should be starting by the season comes.
All right, Thor. Who is your reach-around player in round 10?
I'm going to go with Blake Corum here. Someone came up and asked me about Blake Corum at the break. I can't find him in here, but I said just wait till the next segment where I'm going to be bringing him up here. The Rams go out and draft Blake Corum because he's a perfect fit for their offense, and not because they don't like Kyren Williams. It's because they want to preserve Kyren Williams. If you give Kyren Williams as many touches as you did last year, he is going to break. So I think the distribution here is roughly 60% Kyren Williams, or 65, somewhere in that range. He's going to get all the pass down work. That's what Corum does not do. Corum is going to get the early down stuff. He's going to be running around the goal line as well and getting those touchdowns as well.
I've got Gus Edwards, reunited with longtime offensive coordinator from Baltimore, Greg Roman. Roman and Jim Harbaugh will very possibly have the most run-heavy offense in the NFL, and he's going to be the lead back, and most importantly, he's going to be the goal line back, where he was in Baltimore, where he's going to reprise that role here. It's the same people. This feels like a really easy one for me. Gus Edwards led the NFL in short yardage touchdowns last year, and we're going to talk more about that after the show. We've got one round left. Round 11. Which round 11 player would you take in round number 10? Scott, I believe it is your turn to lead us off.
I'm going to start with, I'm going to say Khalil Shakir, but I know that you want to talk about him a little bit later.
Yep.
The Bills have had high success out of their slot guys. Shakir's been the most consistent in camp, and his path to targets with Davis and Diggs gone is pretty wide open in a high-scoring offense.
Okay. Thor, your reach-around player, round 11.
I was going to go with Shaheed, but after the some of that news, Shakir is my guy, and that was well said by Fish. Agree with all of that.
Okay. If you're going to put Kirk Cousins on this list, I got to take Kirk, right?
You would.
Touchdown passes in 54 of his last 55 games. I mean, the consistency here. He gets Drake London, Kyle Pitts. I've been informed by co-hosts on this show that Kyle Pitts is secretly very good. That we just don't know it yet.
Big secret.
Yeah, big secret. So, maybe that comes together. Bijan Robinson can catch. It's super safe. I'm taking Kirk. I liked Kirk as a Viking. I like him as a Falcon. He's going to be fine. Reach in round number 10. Brian, wrap this thing up, baby. Who's our last player?
I got to go with my boy Jacoby Myers. Finished wide receiver 24 in PPR last year. And if you have truly watched Jacoby, he can play. He's had his bell rung a few times, missed games for concussions and some other unfortunate injuries. Those have hurt his overall numbers. But if he stays healthy in an offense now with Devontae Adams and Brock Bowers, he's seeing single coverage for days, the inferior cornerbacks, 3 catches for 45 yards and 2 drives against the Vikings last week. He's going to be a target hog for whether it's Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew. It doesn't really matter. They're the same in my mind, and that's why I like the Raiders so much. They have a good backup plan because they have 2 of the same quarterbacks practically. So Jacoby Myers, my boy.
All right. When we come back, our final segment of Fantasy Football Weekly, including 3 tough questions, and we reveal this week's sleepers as well. It is Fantasy Football Weekly live from Treasure Island Casino. Island Casino for Fantasy Football Weekly, our final segment of the show. I'm going to miss you guys. But do stick around, because after the show, for those of you in attendance, you get to see the deep dive data afterwards. We've got about another 45 minutes of hardcore nerdery after this that you will want to be here for. You're going to love it, I promise. This final segment is 3 tough questions, and we release all our sleepers. We're a little short on time because we like to blab a lot. So I think the sleepers are more important, right? Yes? All right, let's knock down our sleepers for this week. Let's start with Brian at the end down there. We'll work our way this direction. Who is your sleeper this week, Brian?
You know, I like to dig deep at tight end, and I got the Rams' Colby Parkinson.
Wow. Okay.
Tyler Higbee, who has been the Rams' tight end for years, will start the season on the PUP list. Tore his ACL and MCL in the playoffs last year. He might not play another snap for the Rams. That leaves Parkinson all alone as the starting tight end for L.A. 6'7", 252 pounds.
Dang.
Ran a sub 4.8 40. L.A. signed him to a 2-year deal with $15 million in guarantees. That's starter money. He sat the first preseason game. That's what starters do. And the Rams' offense is going to be electric, you would assume, and Parkinson is free. And Higbee was a top 10 tight end when healthy, so why can't Parkinson be?
Was Higbee really a top 10 tight end?
In
don't
points
remember
per
that.
game.
He
I
had
don't remember
that one
In, like,
4-game stretch where he was like
Yeah.
the best tight end ever.
That
All right.
counts.
Okay.
Just like
Say
Sam
so.
Darnold, or I mean Dan Arnold. He was like a top 10 tight end for a couple weeks.
There we go. Scott, who
Yeah.
is your sleeper this week?
Yeah, I telegraphed it like twice in this show. Brian Thomas Jr., tons of vacated targets, tons
Yeah.
of red zone targets, size, contested catching, but also just no competition. He's going to be
No
the starter in
competition.
an offense that's rising.
All right. We love that kid. Love him.
Yeah.
Thor, your sleeper this week.
Gotta bang the table for Luke McCaffrey again. We talked earlier about how Washington staff is just getting it out there. They don't like Dotson and the other competition, the Zacchaeus and what have you. Luke McCaffrey's good. He tested the same as his brother Christian did when he went to the combine. Was only played wide receiver for 2 years. He converted from to a threat quarterback, and the last 2 years just absolutely ripped it up. He can win downfield. He can play in the slot and the boundary. He is now in a Cliff Kingsbury offense with a quarterback who loves to throw downfield. McCaffrey was awesome down the field.
All right, my sleeper for this week is Buffalo wide receiver Khalil Shakir, currently going up the board as player 160. 160. Now, obviously, massive loss of targets in Buffalo. 317 targets erased from that offense. And he's the only returning veteran that matters among the receivers in Buffalo, Khalil Shakir. And sure, rookie Keon Coleman might contribute at some point this year, but historically, guys taken at the beginning of the second round, like Keon Coleman was, it takes time, and probably a lot of this season. And Curtis Samuel is there, and there's nothing wrong with Curtis Samuel. He's fine, kind of a gadget guy. They throw to him near the line of scrimmage. He hopes he makes a guy miss, then he gets tackled, blah, blah, blah. Khalil Shakir, let me drop 2 bombs on you about Khalil Shakir. Among all wide receivers, last year, he ranked 3rd in yards after the catch at 7.3, behind only Deebo Samuel and Rashee Rice. That's Khalil Shakir. Number 2 thing you should know. Khalil Shakir ranked number 1 in the NFL at the receiver position in quarterback rating on passes thrown his way. Number 1. They trust him, they know him, and with all the new faces and all the moving parts in Buffalo, there's one constant from last year, Khalil Shakir, and he is good. He is slippery, and they are going to manufacture looks for him. You guys with him? You guys with me on this?
I just look back at who I comp Shakir to coming out of Boise
Yeah.
State. Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Really?
Years ago,
Oh,
yeah.
baby. You're getting me all worked up now. I love that.
Pants
God.
check?
Pants, yep.
Yeah.
You're still good.
Holy cow.
Still good.
Yep, for the moment, pants still on. It's time for 3 tough questions. I don't know if we're actually going to get to 3 or not. We'll find out. But these
The
are
people
a theme.
here are going to get to 3.
Well, that's true. That might be the case. This is a themed set of 3 tough questions called Cooked or Merely Well Done. Cooked or well done. These are older players, and I want you to tell me, is this player completely cooked, or is he just well done, and we got like one more good season out of him? We start with, let's start with Scott Fish. First player, cooked or merely well done, DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah. This one.
It's tough, isn't it?
It's tough. It's tough.
It's called 3 tough questions.
I think he could be cooked, but because of the competition for targets there, because he was basically Will Levis's whoopee last year, you know, top 10 in first read targets in the NFL, 6th in first down receptions, still had a top 10 ADOT when targeted. So he gets chunks when he does get targeted, and Levis targets him a ton. I think he's more like roasting marshmallow on a fire. He got burnt there, but it's still delicious.
So
he's still
you're
gonna
taking
get you stuff.
All right. So you're taking well done, not cooked.
It's well done, not completely cooked.
Okay, so well
He's
done is
gonna be
our first answer. Thor, DeAndre Hopkins, cooked or well done?
So I had a food metaphor here too.
Wow.
I've ended up with DeAndre Hopkins on way too many teams because I feel like he falls down. But it's the situation, right? Like, and I was thinking about like when I go out and grill burgers and I burn them, but I don't have anything else to eat. You're going to eat it. That's how I feel like with DeAndre Hopkins. The situation at least is advantageous.
If we don't all have food metaphors, I'm going to be disappointed.
That's
That's a lot of pressure to come up with a food metaphor, but fortunately I go last in 3 tough questions, so I got a minute to think about it. Brian, DeAndre Hopkins, we have 2 so far. We have 2 well dones, no cooks. Where are you?
I was going to go well done, but I got a sneak peek at your Guillotine League's premium cheat sheet coming soon, everyone. Don't worry. And DeAndre Hopkins, 41% of his games were duds last year. That's a higher percentage than his safe start percentage. A year older. Calvin Ridley in town. I love Nuke, but I'll go cooked. Sorry, DeAndre.
The correct answer for DeAndre Hopkins is cooked. It hurts. We're people cheering the demise of DeAndre Hopkins over here.
That guy's just cheering
Very
anything
cruel audience right now. It's not that we don't love DeAndre Hopkins, probably headed to the Hall of Fame at some point. 32 years old, missing this entire very important preseason with Will Levis as they're trying to install a new offense that's going to set up Calvin Ridley to be the lead receiver there, the number 1. That's going to put DeAndre Hopkins into unfamiliar territory as a number 2. And Will Levis, I mean, garbage last year.
You don't think
so
he can support
bad.
2 receivers?
I don't think he can support 2 receivers.
Did you see that Mayo commercial that Will Levis did?
How
They
about
put
that?
up. That
There's
was
your food
tremendous.
analogy right
yeah,
there.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think this is warm mayo. That's how cooked we are on DeAndre Hopkins. We're going to try to get in one more tough question. Cooked or merely well done? Aaron Rodgers. Oh, this could be divisive right here. Thor, cooked or merely well done?
I'm going to go with well done if he can stay on the field. They have enough. Yeah, I mean, you have enough help there where, being viable as a fantasy player. So I'm going to go with well done.
Well done. All right, Brian, Aaron Rodgers, cooked or well done?
I don't know. I think Rodgers is probably baked or more like tripping his balls off right now.
Jeez. This is on radio, I'll remind you.
You can say balls on radio, can you?
Please don't.
I mean, you did.
All right, well, he's tripping his balls off right now, probably. He's cooked. 40. I can relate. We're all cooked at this age.
Scott, perhaps you could be more insightful and more FCC friendly.
Yeah. It feels like anything I say will be more FCC friendly after that. I just have it as
it's fantasy
well done.
football, right? Why can't you say balls?
We talk about balls all the time. That's basically what our whole show is. Well done is what I have. Well done. His last year with the Packers wasn't good. It was his worst season in over a decade. His worst QB rating of his career with a full season. But I just think Aaron Rodgers, with a chip on his shoulder and all the weapons around him, they're going to support him just enough to be completely cooked. To be
well done. Aaron Rodgers is well done. I love that they rebuilt the entire offensive line in New York. It should get a ton better. Brian alluded to this earlier. You still have Garrett Wilson, who I think quietly is just in raw talent, maybe one of the 5 best wide receivers in the league. It's just he's never been put in a position to show off how good he is. Garrett Wilson's great. And you've also got one of the best pass catching backs in the NFL in Breece Hall. Too much talent around Aaron Rodgers to flop. I think we're still going to get one more good season out of him. Do we have time for one? Oh, we do have time for one more. All right, we're going to get in all three of our three tough questions. Cooked or merely well done? Cooper Kupp. Let's see what they have to say. I think we're up to Brian for this one. Cooper Kupp, cooked or merely well done?
Gee willikers, I will be careful here, guys. Just 21 starts over the last 2 years for Cooper Kupp, wrong side of 30. Thor's boy Puka is the alpha there now, but I'm not going to call Cooper cooked. He's well done. I hope he's got enough tread on the tire. One more year for Cooper Kupp. Well done.
All right.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. His explosive play rate absolutely tanked at all levels. Maybe because he was coming back from injury, but he seems to be injured a lot. But the one thing that didn't is his targets, top 6 in red zone targets, receptions, top 10 in third down targets. He's still very much trusted. Over the last month, he scored in 4 of his last 5 games, double-digit fantasy points in all of them. Yeah, I don't think he's completely cooked yet.
Not cooked yet.
No,
all right.
Not yet.
Thor. Is Cooper Kupp cooked or merely well done?
Cooper Kupp is cooked. I don't know if he's going to be healthy going forward. I think that's going to be a persistent issue. And last year fell off the shelf while he was on the field, and he has clearly been supplanted as the wide receiver 1 in L.A. I don't want him on any of my teams this year.
Yeah, catch rate plummeted last year for Cooper Kupp. Yeah. We saw his role significantly change. The big plays dried up. His ADOT started to shrink, and I can't quite go completely cooked because he's still a on-the-field, every-play receiver in a Sean McVay offense. So I can't call him completely cooked now, but we're on our way for the 31-year-old Cooper Kupp, who is at this point well done. Speaking of well done, all of you for showing up, well done. Thank you for being a great audience. We have had an amazing time today. And again, for those of you that are here, we got our deep dive inside the 5 data coming up. We're going to have a ton of fun continuing here. For everybody on the stream, thank you for watching tonight. It's been great chatting with you as well. Well, I was talking to you. You really couldn't talk back if you were on the stream.
That's pretty much the norm in conversations with Charch.
Really, yeah, about that too. I do dominate the conversations a lot. And thank you very much to our production team, Robbie, Zach, and Nick. Thank you so much for your help. It's been great having you here. Our street team, thank you so much for your help. And TI Casino, Treasure Island, awesome, awesome production today. We'll talk to you next week, everybody, for more Fantasy Football Weekly. Yes! That was a blast. Thanks, everybody. I'm just